Good afternoon, greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Timon. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are talking about, you remember Adam Carolla from The Man Show a long time ago? This is like decades. So he had a lot to say about real estate agents. We're going to break that down in the third segment here. We're going to try to play a clip. We'll see how this goes. If not, we'll sum it up for you. Sharon Srivatsa is out as the real president, one of the best thought leaders. We're going to talk about what that means, as well as these Compass Purchasing Home Services, the parent company of Berkshire Hathaway. Apparently talks are close, although the CEO of Home Services came out and said it is not true. So we're going to find out exactly what's going on here. We're going to unpack all this. And first, we're going to be talking about Sarah's favorite, the economic data, the inflation data that came out, as well as where the market's headed here. We'll break that down next. So if you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with our team, and Sarah specifically, she's got many happy listener clients that she's helped very recently. You could be next, and you can schedule a call with her with the link in the comments. So CPI data, inflation, positive news here. We got a Fed meeting looming this week, and inflation came in below expectation. The inflation rate eased to 2.8%. Core inflation was at 3.1%. Both were below the Wall Street Journal and economist prediction consensus and below previous months. The difference between core inflation versus the CPI data, that's the wide-ranging measure. Core inflation excludes food and energy prices. So they both came in below expectation. This is the second favorable report that we've gotten after the jobs report also came in lower than expected. And we've seen rates dip down a little bit. Rates are coming in at the lowest level since January. We're getting quotes nationally of, today when we're sitting here, 6.78%. We're seeing even some lower rates locally, depending on credit, assets, those sort of things. Has the dip in rates caused any demand increases, Sarah? What are you seeing in the field with this favorable data coming in, and what's been going on with these economic indicators?
Yeah, I think it's been positive, but to be completely honest, with like current people that I'm working with, I don't know that it's like specific. Like a lot of people are waiting for the right house. Like the rates, certainly that's a positive thing, but I don't think that that's like pushed anybody or like gotten them over the line of, and now I can go for this house that was not going to be an option before. I would say on the listing side, there's been a little bit of an uptick in a few showings, but I agree. I don't know that you can specifically put that on the rates, because I think in some of these cases, maybe some like adjustments were made on just like the listing side of things. So I wouldn't be able to 100% pinpoint it on the rates.
I agree with you. And I don't know that this is going to move the needle for a lot of people, because there's going to be some buyers where they like, all right, let's lock in. I can stretch a little bit. Maybe I'll do that. But this is what people have been expecting. And we've been seeing rates bounce around in this high 6 range for a couple of weeks now.
And I almost feel as though when the rates go the other way, it tends to be more of a, oh, hold on, versus like when they drop, it doesn't, unless if it's like a massive one or whatever, like I don't always notice that it immediately opens up the floodgates the same way as an uptick puts up the like stop sign.
Well, that's a great point, because when you think about this, right, and let's just detail this here. Sarah's not drinking a beer. Don't worry. It's a ginger ale. So when you look at these numbers, like, the uptick can stop people. All of a sudden, the home is not affordable. But the people that are on the fence, they're typically not even out looking at homes. So what you want to look at as a real estate agent, and if you're one of these people that is now intrigued by the market because rates have come down, step one is have a meeting to plan out what's going to happen, strategize what you want to do, understand, okay, here's where payments are. Maybe now I can go look at some homes, or this opened up some options. It's not like I'm going to go buy a house right away. So I do agree with you there. But it gets more people out in the field. And then you figure most folks, if you're trying to pinpoint how much time it's going to take for them to buy a home, and there's not a an average amount of time. But if people are saying, hey, here's my time frame, I got to be out by a certain time, you're looking at like 30, 60, 90 days is kind of the usual cycle of folks when they really start looking. And when you see this data here, it's very clear the Fed is. I'd be shocked if we see any movement from the Fed when they meet tomorrow. Their meeting is tomorrow and Wednesday. It's a 99.0% chance they hold rates where they are in that 425 to 450 range. And then we don't have another meeting again until May 7th. And at the May 7th meeting, there is a 16% chance we see a 25 basis point cut, an 83.9% chance we see nothing happen. And then in June, there may be, and that's June 18th, there's a 57.9% chance we see there's a 25 basis point reduction. So what I see here is there is stability now in the market, that if you're considering a buy, a sell, or both, and usually there's a sell involved with the buy, it's not going to be that these magical rate drops. I think we could see low sixes by the end of the year, like a lot of people are predicting now. I wouldn't have said that a couple months ago. Right now, there's stability. We're seeing inventory start to rise. There's 28% more active listings than were on the market this time last year. So there's more options out there. I mean, if you look at just what's happening locally, we're up just week over week. We're up 3.3% on active listings. We're up 21.8% in our MLS compared to a year ago. So there's more options. Rates are going to be less than 7, higher than where they were. I see stability in the marketplace, and I think that's going to bring more people back to the market over time. It's not going to be a switch, but between now and basically July, that's what I anticipate is going to happen.
Which is kind of what you want. You want the people that are like, things are moving at like an appropriate, stable pace, and you're making decisions, and it's not just some like very rarely is there just a flip of the switch. And when there is, it tends to feel chaotic.
You're absolutely right. And we've been through a number of these. I mean, just over the past 4 or 5 years. And the flip side is this is also the most homes that have been available since before the pandemic. So, I mean, 2020 was the most homes we've seen available since before the pandemic. And I think it's really important to understand that, because what's been the biggest complaints besides rates for consumers right now?
The house isn't out there, lack of inventory.
100%. And look, are you going to get the perfect house? I don't know that anyone ever gets the perfect house. Do you live in the perfect house right now?
No.
We don't live in the perfect house. You just had a client you put under contract this morning. I'm imagining that person made some concessions. So, if you can get, I'd say north of 60% of what you want in a home, like high five yourself, and that's realistic. So, with stability in the market, what advice do you have for the people that may have been on the fence? Because there's the people out there making decisions. I think they're the really smart ones right now. What about the people that are just like, I don't know, I'm nervous about the economy, I'm nervous about these tariffs, I'm nervous about all this other stuff that's going on? What advice do you have for them?
Well, I think there's always something to be nervous about. There's always a what if this happens, what if that happens? That's always something, there's always something there. So I think when you've got stability, you're able to not feel like quite as just like chaotic and like things are happening like at a, just like, oh my gosh, like what is this? And I think that the best thing to do, like if you're a buyer, is like just start looking at places. Because very rarely is the first home that you look at the home that you end up getting. So, if you're still in that stage of like, I'm trying to figure out exactly what's what, go out and look at places, narrow down what your list is, so that, cause it doesn't just happen right away. So if you're thinking like, well, I wouldn't actually be ready to get under contract for another like 2 months, well, then you should be looking now, because it's probably going to take at least that long to narrow down, to figure out for the right home to come up and to structure the offer that gets the house.
I think that's such good advice, because there's a lot of things, like when you meet with people, that they have such misconceptions about what happens. Buyers, they have no idea what it actually takes to like purchase a home. Most people think you still need like 20% to put down. And all the buyers out there, like especially first-time buyers, that's just not the case. You can get in as low as 3% down. And if you're a vet, you might be able to get 100% financing. There's grant programs. There's the K-Fit program. All these things that can get people literally in with 0% down. They got to come up with closing costs and some cash for sure. but there's many more options that are out there. And then also people like they when you just look online, I don't know how to explain this, but you're not really seeing what's out there. I mean, how many times have you been surprised at a home you showed somebody as a professional?
Oh yeah.
And we're like, wow, this is better than I thought it was going to be.
Right. Yeah, and it happens both ways for the pictures, like worse and bad. Like, it
It definitely
can
can
go
be
both
worse. Yes, it definitely can be worse.
Yeah.
There's no question there. So does that when you see that happen, is there like a light bulb that goes off? Is there like a breath of fresh air with some of these consumers? Because there's a lot of negativity about the housing market right now, especially on the purchase side.
Yeah, I mean, I think also just the nicer weather coming out, the longer days just puts like people are in a better mood. You're able to see things later in the evening, and actually see it because it's light out.
Yeah.
And I feel like that just brings like positive energy.
I agree with you about the positive energy. I mean, people do get. I mean, seasonal depression is real. I've never seen so many people post like they get so excited when we spring forward.
Mhm.
I don't like losing the hour of sleep.
Right.
I mean, because when your kids wake up, they have no idea what time it is. So it's an extra hour of play, not an extra hour of like, sleeping or less or whatever. But see, so many people talk about this, like, especially in November, like, hey, this is going to be the shortest day of the year. Now days are going to get longer. And I've never paid attention to that before. I think it does rub people the wrong way when you have these shorter days.
Right. Yeah. So I think that it's just like as spring starts to come,
Yeah.
I think it just like people tend to be in a better mood. People tend to see more they're just more positive.
And historically for housing, there's a lot to be positive about when you get to this time of year, because I mean, you look at all the models that are out there or the historical data, and you look at the mortgage purchase applications index, right? That always rises this time of year. You almost historically always see like a dip heading into March, and then it just shoots right up until about like the end of October. You see the same thing with active inventory, where homes that are coming to the market, this is always where you see the build of inventory. So that gets people more optimistic. May not be the right home for them, but they're seeing more options, and options create certainty and just make people feel better about it. So, when you look at some of this data, Sarah, and I want to get your, so we're seeing some positive stuff here. Rates are probably going to be staying where they are. We've got some stability here. So what we're seeing happen right now is that week over week, showings are up 3.1%. They're still down 4.7% compared to a year ago. So there's a little less competition. We're seeing new listings are up 15.8% compared to a year ago, 4.6% compared to last week. Active listings, the difference there is active listings are what's on the market. New is the newly listed. They're up 21.8%, like we talked about. We're also seeing an increase in price decreases. It was up 1.2 percentage points compared to last year, and 0.4 of a percentage point compared to last week. There's a lot of stuff to be positive about here. Mm-hmm. So you talk to somebody, I know you're working with a whole bunch of clients right now. When they're a little down on the market, you said to get out and look at properties. What other advice do you have for these people? Or maybe should they stay out of the market until they're certain? I mean, because I don't think buying a home is going to be for everybody. So how do you assess that? Because people are all over the map, and there's still a lot of bad data out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think just having the conversations about why is it that you want to move, and like what do the different scenarios look like for whether or not it happens. And in the ideal world, the perfect home pops up at the perfect time, at the perfect price, without the competition and yes, that would be ideal. But if that doesn't happen, what do the different ways that this can play out look like for you? And then where should we focus our time and energy? And does it make the most sense to not do it? And that is always an option.
Well, that's what a good agent does. I mean, so many people, and we role play like 8 times a week now, like at our team, and we go over how to talk to people in a way that has empathy and really prioritizes what they want to do. And when you talk to most agents, I mean, we were just talking about an agent before this, and they are so aggressive in their language. Mm-hmm. They're so forceful that you have to do this, you should do that. Anyone that tells me I should do something, I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, what's your reaction to that? Because if someone talked to me like that, I would be immediately turned off. And that's what a lot of agents do to consumers.
Yeah. I mean, this is, as the consumer, this is a major decision financially, mentally, Like there's a lot that goes into it. This isn't your everyday, and you want to be treated like that you're not just like, oh, you're just my Monday at 2 p.m. a call or appointment, like you want to be treated like in an understanding way of what is best for me and not for you, agent.
Well, and when you prioritize the person and you prioritize their needs, not your business, you're going to have enough clients that your business is going to be doing well anyway. And I was just talking to one of our team members on the phone, one of our partners before we got here, and it was, hey, you just got to meet with as many people as possible. They're going to transact because it's right for them. It's right for Sarah and Eric. It's right for Tom and Bridget. It's not right for Sarah Timon, the real estate agent. Like, oh, Sarah really needs a check this month. We're gonna buy a house, which it just never happens. And when it's so critical, and that's what great agents do. And that's really the difference between a good agent and a great agent is they detach from the outcome and they say, hey, don't do the deal, don't buy the house. And then when they see something and they're looking for it, that opinion of, hey, if this is probably the best thing we're going to see, it means more. And they know you've got their back, and that's what people really want. So you're going to see a lot of, I'm hoping we're not talking about a lot of economic data. We'll talk about it because we need to here, but I'm looking forward to a stable few months here, and it looks like that's what's on the horizon. Seeing that inflation's easing, seeing that we've got these lead indicators that are happening. The Fed's going to be staying the course. All good stuff here for housing and for buyers and sellers. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We actually got some breaking news here about Bill Pulte overhauling Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. We're going to talk about that. Sharon Srivatsa, he's out at Real as their president, as well as these Compass Berkshire Hathaway Home Services purchase talks that are apparently ongoing. We'll discuss it next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
For the best local mortgage service,
watch out,
great rates on your money.
I know.
Look no further than Mortgage America. We've been operating in the greater Philadelphia area for 40 years with a focus
And I know there's something that definitely could have been said.
easy access to home purchasing. Whether you're a first-time buyer, upsizing or downsizing, or just refinancing, we have programs for you. We also have closing cost assistance programs and access to subsidized interest rates. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. To learn more, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com. Or give us a call at 610-439-8000. We always have a person available to take your call with around-the-clock human service. Purchase your home with the personalized local service you find at Mortgage America. Mortgage America is equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
The Tom Toole Sales Group is the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania with over $165 million in volume for 2021. I'm Tom Toole, and our team has achieved that kind of success by being a great place to work with and to work for.
Probably tomorrow about Saturday.
We know real estate, but more importantly, we're real people. We hire the best agents and we give them all the tools to succeed. Even our brand new agents sell 17 to 24 homes a year because our team delivers the best experience in real estate. Teams deliver a better experience than individuals, and we're a top 1% real estate team in the country. We call it AAA service, where your advocate, ally, and advisor. Because this isn't a transaction.
And if like the pool's getting fixed.
If you're buying or selling a home, call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line at 610-692-696,
so they have
or visit tomtoole.com.
I guess like the thing that we did last year, they're like date for being able to like go on and sign up again was like a couple days ago. Eric went on like 5 minutes after it opened, and like most of the classes were already filled. So like we got her into one, but it's like in July.
That's what happened when Leo went to camp. They went to that camp by the office, which was called Arrowhead. You had to sign up like within seconds. These activities could fill up like immediately. Like it's nuts.
We're gonna do like a 5:15 time slot. It's like every weekday for like 2 weeks. And so Eric had like called to be like, hey, like it's not working. I was like, yeah, we went to the one and it wasn't there. So now it's like 4:15.
Cross country mortgage. When it's time to
but yeah, they fill
I don't know. My parents kept up with all this stuff. It's like my dad was like never home. My mom's got all this around.
If you consider a career in real estate, do you want control over your income?
So
whether you have a license or not,
I just put stuff on my calendar now. It's like
610-692-6976.
like kids are like an emergency or something.
Tom Toole.
Yeah.
Stand by. The Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line.
Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Timon. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. We've got a whole bunch of real estate industry news here, and then we're going to talk about Adam Carolla and his opinion of real estate agents, which if you're a real estate agent, you want to listen to this and basically prove him wrong. It was that bad. First, we got Sharon Srivatsa. He's out at Real as the president. Compass is apparently in talks to buying Home Services, the parent company of Berkshire Hathaway. And Bill Pulte, he is the new FHFA director. So he's the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. He overhauled all the boards there while this just happened. So we're going to talk about this as well. If you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with our team and Sarah specifically, she's got many, many happy listeners that she's helped. You can do that with the link in the comments. And she's looking for more clients. So don't be shy here, ladies and fellas. Yeah. So how do you want to do this here? We got the Bill Pulte news that just broke. Sharon and Compass, that kind of happened last week after the Redfin Rocket.com purchase. Do we want to go in chronological order? Does that make sense?
Let's go with the breaking news.
Okay. All right. Breaking news. We need like some sound bumpers here. Yeah. So Bill Pulte. If you don't know who Bill Pulte is, you've probably heard of Pulte Builders. He obviously is that's where he came from. And he is the new FHFA director. So that's the Federal Housing Administration Federal Housing Finance Agency specifically is what he does. He's the director of that. So a week into getting confirmed as the FHFA director, he replaced board members on both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, just to give some perspective, I think it's important to explain this to people. They're owned by the government, right? So they're in a conservatorship. So what that means is, and just to kind of explain all this, Congress created Fannie Mae to make sure there's funds available for residential mortgage lending nationwide, right? That's what Fannie Mae does, and they're in a conservatorship, meaning they're protected by the federal government. Freddie Mac is the same type of agency, so it's a government-sponsored enterprise created by the government to ensure access to home mortgage credit. So these are government-approved bodies, and the conservatorship is to protect them. The difference between the two is that Fannie Mae tends to buy loans from larger commercial banks. Freddie Mae usually buys loans from smaller banks. So they're two different arms, right? I think it's important for people to get that. They hear these terms thrown around. Mm-hmm. I wonder if like most agents even know this stuff. I mean, that's probably, right. That's normally where financing comes from. When you see jumbo loans for some higher price points, that's usually directly from a bank. So it's not a Freddie Mae, Fannie Mae bank type of loan. So all these board members got replaced, which signals there were some major shifts ahead. And what this really means is there could be some changes in mortgage policies, loan oversight, and the future of government-backed financing. So according to filings today with the SEC, there were 6 board members were removed, from Freddie Mac. 8 board members were ousted from Fannie Mae. They did keep the CEO over there. They have the names of these people. I don't know who any of them are. And they're still finalizing board assignments. So we know that the boards make a lot of decisions with these kind of companies. And, what's going on right now is Freddie Mac's going to provide information regarding any related, transactions and the new assignments as they become known. Fannie Mae's not there yet. And then you got this tweet that came out from Terrence Williams where, there continues to be this trend with the federal government where they're exposing waste, which I'm all for. I think if we can save money on taxes, I mean, do you support lower taxes? Because I do, right? I don't want to pay any more taxes. So, sure. So apparently, like there's this tweet that came out that only 49 of the 2,900 people were showing up to work full time, and that comes from Terrence K. Williams, and he's talking about Bill Pulte. So I mean, it's more of this government downsizing that we're seeing. So that
seems insane.
I do
not believe that.
I don't believe the tweet. I think that's kind of what's going on here is that there's this, they want to save taxpayers money. I mean, who knows if this is true? And how are we going to prove that? Right. I have no idea. I tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
I think it's a little embellished here. And so what's happening now is that it looks like the new administration may push Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac out of conservatorship, which is complicated, and it could reshape the mortgage market. So these government-sponsored enterprises, they support about half of the U.S. mortgage market, and they're saying it might bring lower mortgage rates. I don't really know. So that's kind of what's happening here is they're reshaping these industries, or I shouldn't say these industries, these GSEs, these government sponsored enterprises, and it could, make stricter oversight on loan quality. I'm wondering what, when they're talking about like appraisals that don't align with historical records, broker prepared financial statements, blacklists on people that are involved in fraud cases. So there's a lot of stuff here that is going to get unpacked. I mean, what do you think about all this? I mean, you've been hit probably more so than most about like these government downsizes and these new initiatives that are in place.
Yeah, I mean, I would want to see, I guess, like if they're going to restructure this, because like typically like the safest loans, the loans that people felt the most, I don't know what word I'm looking for, confident in, were Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Right?
Yeah.
So if you're, depending on what it is that they're going to do here, if you're restructuring, if you're loosening everything, I don't know that that's helpful, because isn't like it being tight and like really kind of like monitored closely what makes them something that you can feel like confident and safe in?
Well, so I think Fannie Mae's already been tightening its grip on the mortgage fraud in the multifamily sector, because there's been like they have new guidelines they've written. Loans underwritten to a higher occupancy rate than the actual occupancy at purchase. Appraisals don't align. Broker prepared financial statements. So I think that they're trying to crack down on that. Okay. To your point, I think it's exiting the conservatorship. I mean, I don't really know what it's going to do, to be honest. Yeah. I don't understand this as much as I probably should. NAR has come out and they said they want to work closely to ensure stable and accessible housing finance systems. So that's, congratulations NAR for actually doing something. And what you said, I mean, this comes from the executive vice president at NAR. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are the backbone for middle-class home ownership and rentership, and it's of the utmost importance that we take measured and thoughtful approach to any reforms with these GSEs. So yes. They tend to agree with you. I agree with this as well. I think you got to be careful here. So, I don't know what all this means.
Right, and I don't know enough about it to be able to give I shouldn't be the one making this decision.
Yeah. Neither of us are qualified.
Right, but I do think that certainly, going through and figuring out what makes sense, what doesn't, but taking it a step beyond that to how does it doing different things, how is that going to impact things, and not just like willy-nilly making changes, because particularly with this being the backbone of lending, you kind of want to keep that integrity in place and make smart, well thought out decisions.
Yeah, well, I agree there. And this conservatorship, it's a 17-long conservatorship. They've been under government control since the financial crisis in 2008. So it hasn't been forever.
Okay.
And they also required federal intervention to stay afloat, because a lot of these, I mean, the reason we got into this problem in the first place, did you ever watch The Sopranos?
No.
So they had this one episode. Well, that's not why we can talk about that later. They had this HUD scam they were doing. And I remember this. I just got my real estate license when this happened. And they're buying these houses, and they're all these foreclosed homes, and they're going up to the appraisers and literally breaking their legs and saying, we need this number to come in higher. And that's why we saw this reform with appraisals, because
that's a leg breaking.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it was actual leg breaking. This is just in the David Chase show, not real life. But I don't think that's a realistic, maybe a Hollywood embellishment, if you will, of what was going on. So they haven't been under conservatorship forever. And Pulte said in his confirmation hearing that any pull has to be carefully planned. So I don't think they're going to just turn the corner on this without making sure that there's something here that's going to be important. But there could be a little more market volatility. It could change what happens with rates. I don't really know, but what I think is clear is there's going to be some changes here, and changing the board seats is probably the first step of what could be more of this here. And I know the current administration wants mortgage rates to go lower, which is great. I mean, I think in some ways, but we got to make sure it's not going to be like what happened in 2020 or 2021, where they put a ton of cash in the system. They brought the rates down, and it caused the market to kind of be where it's at now. So I think that's the stuff you got to realize here. I mean, this is something you want to monitor, but this is probably bigger news than people realize.
Sure.
So we'll wait and see on this one, Sarah.
Yeah.
All right. What we got next here. So Sharon Srivatsa, I've known him probably like 12, 13 years at this point. He is stepping down as the president of Real Brokerage. So Real Brokerage is one of these cloud-based brokerages. And he's stepping back from his day-to-day operating role at Real, and he's going to be part of the board. And, when you look at what he did for this company, his first 13 months, agent count doubled. It went from 6,800 to 15,000. Now they're in like the 26,000 plus range since he joined the company. I don't think this is good news for Real. I know Sharon pretty well. He's done this before. He grew Tellus. They sold to Douglas Elliman. He's certainly a thought leader in the industry.
Does he always take somewhat short-term roles to kind of get in, turn it around, and then go on to his next?
He was at Tellus a lot longer, so okay. I don't know what really happened here. I mean, he's saying he's moving to the board. I don't know any of the details, so I'm not going to speculate. But I look at this and I know a lot of Real agents. I got a lot of friends at Real, and they. It's like there was like a funeral that happened when he left. So but everyone's saying it's great. He's going to help the board. I don't see this as a good thing for Real Brokerage. I mean, losing someone like that. He's probably one of the most dynamic leaders when it comes to at the C level or the president or whatever you want to call it that I see with any of the national brokerages here. I was kind of surprised to see him go so quickly when they're on this rise here. It's usually when you keep someone in the building if you can. I was kind of shocked by this.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I wonder if it's just that he got it going in the right direction and then is keep the momentum going, but somebody else can do it, or if something else happened.
I don't know what happened. What I can tell you is this is not going to. I mean, Real's not like. Your perspective is probably a lot different than mine because Real's not really. They haven't really caught on here. You don't see a lot of Real brokerage agents. There's like a couple here or there, but it's not.
I don't know any.
Yeah, well, that's. I mean, but they're not like prevalent in the market. Now you go out to California or Texas or some of these other places, Florida. The brokerage has grown a lot there, and these cloud-based brokerages. I think it's tough in a market like this when you're relying on people all over the country to help you. I mean, imagine if you have a deal issue and you got to talk to somebody who's running a team out in California.
Right.
How would that work out, do you think? For you?
Not great.
And I think that's the challenge. And a lot of these people had access to Sharon very readily. And, that works. But, the way the market is now, I feel like you really need someone you can get on the phone pretty darn quick or have a system to do it. And without that kind of leadership, I just don't see this as it's being a good thing for Real Brokerage. I mean, Sharon's very dynamic. He was my pick for winner of the year when it came to individual and real estate. I mean, that pick is going south here. I mean, it's it's first quarter and he already left. So I mean, it's not good.
Yeah.
I mean, so you think something else might happen is what I'm hearing?
Well, I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about what all he's done before. But if you're saying he stayed at the last place longer, then it's not like he just is always get in maybe not puts out a fire, but gets momentum going, gets things going in the right direction, and then is on to the next.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just don't. It's such a short time, and seeing the rise that happened here, I would imagine that they would want to keep him there. I see when you get a good leader in your company, right? And we've got an amazing couple great sales leaders with Paul and Brian. I don't want them to leave. When we moved Brian into that role, I actively sought him out, and you could see what he was doing. You were there, he was kind of like an informal leader on the team, right? Mm-hmm. And he's getting everyone going. And I'm thinking to myself, we got to keep this guy. So we need to figure out a way to make that happen, which we did, and I think it's paid off tenfold for our company. I mean, and you're someone and what's interesting is, you were with our company before he was, and a lot of times those people that are there before somebody else, they never go to the they'll just come to me.
I call Brian.
But that's what I'm saying. That's actually a compliment to him. I think it's a really good thing because you call him all the time, and that's the sign of a good leader. A lot of people won't do that if they were there first. Now you also have no ego when it comes to sales, and it's both of you guys, but that's a compliment to him that you call him all the time. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want him leaving the building. Like that
Right.
was that was a priority that we had. So I just don't think this is a good move for them. I think they're going to suffer.
He also has like the right skill set and like wants to like
yes.
help and educate. Not that I like don't want to help people, but I don't think that's my skill set isn't there for like the things that he puts in place and like, you know, how like, I don't know, his whole like process and everything. So
I totally agree. I think he's actually, and he was a great agent. I think he's better at this
mm-hmm.
than and you got to put the right people in the right seat. We talk about that all the time. So if I'm running a company, I don't want that person leaving the room. So it seems like this is off here. I don't think it's going to be good for real.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the third thing we got. So we got this rumor. This is very interesting. Well, it's not a rumor. It's the Wall Street Journal report, and they're not backing off of it, that Compass is going to be purchasing, or they're in talks at the finish line to purchase Home Services, which is the parent company for Berkshire Hathaway, and a lot of other companies too. Like, I mean, they have all sorts of brands. They got like Long and Foster, like all these different companies here. Berkshire Hathaway is the biggest, obviously. So then the CEO of Home Services comes out and says, hey, this is not true. This isn't happening. Wall Street Journal's not backing off their story. That's a pretty big merger. I mean, I think that's even bigger than Rocket.com and Redfin if that happens. What do you think about this?
Is one of the sides confirming and one's denying?
Well, Compass hasn't said anything.
Compass hasn't said anything. The other side's denying, but Wall Street Journal is sticking to their guns.
Yeah, and this is so. There apparently some other people have heard these rumors before.
Yeah.
Like, so that's wild to me. I mean, that's a big company to get purchased.
Yeah. I mean, is that pretty common to just deny? I'm probably to like deny until like, oh yeah, this has been in the works forever, but we were waiting for like the ink to dry. Or
well, you look at Gino Buffari. I mean, I've gotten a chance to spend some time with him. Another great leader in the industry, and you know, he serves the shareholders. So I think he's got to be careful what he says, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, some people think he serves the agents. He really serves the shareholders. And Home Services, it's a very small sliver of what Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway actually own, like the parent company. So while it's a big deal in real estate, I don't know that it's a big deal for Warren Buffett and his company. And, you know, seeing people like Compass, this will be their third acquisition, right? Because they already bought Christie's. They bought that At Properties company, and now they're looking at buying Home Services. I mean, that's a pretty big move for them. And you know, it's the whole thing is just, I was kind of shocked to hear that. But again, Gino has completely negated these claims and sent it out to all the network leaders. Here's what he said. Many of you may be aware of articles published by the Wall Street Journal and elsewhere today stating that Home Services was in talks to be sold to Compass. I want to confirm that there are no discussions, negotiations, or agreements to sell Home Services or any of its affiliated companies, and that includes the Berkshire Hathaway Home Services franchise business. Moreover, no such sale is being contemplated. The genesis of this story is not known at the time. It's important to note that it was based on rumors from unnamed sources and that the Home Services was not given notice of the article nor the opportunity to respond. I'm aware that this misinformation may have been alarming, confusing, and disruptive to you and your network agents. I hope this email provides clarification for you so that you can go out into the real estate community confidently with the truth regarding these claims.
Well, he sounds pretty confident that nothing's happening.
I mean, Gino's been around the block. So, I mean, it's, you know, I think who knows? I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think there's more. We're going to see. We talked about like there could be more mergers that come this year. That would be wild to me, though. And I think, you know, what Compass is probably looking to do is that they are so adamant about getting rid of Clear Cooperation and their like agent network, Compass coming soon. I think they're trying to expand their network.
Mm-hmm. I wonder where, and did Wall Street Journal respond after they gave this?
They're not pulling the story.
Okay.
They're not retracting.
Yeah. So that's their response. Like, we're keeping it. Gotcha.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
So do you think the consumer cares about any of this?
No.
I could not agree with you more.
I don't think they care at all.
I think it was funny because I put out like some social media content about this, and it said basically like, all these mergers, all these acquisitions, all these news, you know what really matters? Selling houses and building your company. Like, that's it. So, you know, if you're one of these people at these companies, I mean, I'm hearing Sarah Timon says business as usual. Go out and talk to some folks and try to help them.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you were part of one of those companies, maybe it would mean more. But I would say as like, just as a consumer, no, it doesn't mean that much. As a real estate agent, not associated with either of these, I also like don't really care.
Yeah.
Like
I love that you don't care.
Yeah. I mean, like if it like, cause I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where like anything could mean anything and you could like spin off on whatever, but like let's see if it even is real. And if it is, like, does that change anything? We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, and so you look at what Compass has done with these other entities they bought. So, there's a question of what Berkshire Hathaway and specifically Home Services owns. And they own some real estate companies, but they also own franchises, which are a lot different. And so these franchise agreements are pretty tight. So what they've been doing with Christie's and At Properties from Chicago is they're just treating them like they're franchisee. They're offering like the tech and the services, and all the tech and real estate's the same. I mean, I don't think there's anything like it's that much different. Like anyone that tells me they're using AI, I'm like, yeah, so is everybody else. Like,
right.
It's not that different. And the best thing everyone can do. Sarah, I love that you don't care about this stuff. That makes me so happy on so many levels, because it's March 18th now. And if you're not focused on helping people buy and sell real estate over the next 4 months, you've got your priorities all over the place as an agent. And that is the most important thing I can stress, is that even if you're at one of these companies, right, don't let that derail your plan. I would just go out and focus on, all right, how can I set a couple appointments today, or at least set one, right? If you just set one appointment a day as an agent, you're in great shape.
Yep.
If you're in management or leadership, how can I find more agents that are going to align with our vision, that are going to be in line with our values? And how do I sell even more houses? Because everything else doesn't really matter. Like,
right.
As an agent, your income's not going to grow because you went to another company.
Right.
A lot of people think that.
Sure.
They follow their friends around the brokerages. They get away from leaders like Sharon, but it's really just about selling houses.
Right. I agree.
All right. You heard it here from Sarah first. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about this Adam Carolla clip. We're going to see. Hopefully I can play this. I've got it all teed up. And we'll be right back on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
You shouldn't have to deal with all the red tape when getting your mortgage from a big online bank. At Mortgage America, we have access to big bank money.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I want to see it.
Personalized and detailed service of a local bank. We are here in your community and ready to serve with fast settlements, low down payment options, and first-time.
Wait, was this for Bryn or for?
Bryn, yeah,
approval is free.
I didn't know. He was like a year and a half.
For more information, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com.
Doing all right over there?
Or give us a call at 610-439-8000.
Champ.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line. I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line. If you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021.
This guy used to be on the Man Show with Jimmy Kimmel on Comedy Central.
And a top 1% team nationally. Our agents love us because we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture.
They used to have a bar on the show.
At least a year.
Something just got scheduled for here. I wonder if it's the guy.
Agents average
we have no idea.
We have no idea who the agent is, but I wonder
We
if
offer
it's
proven systems and expert
Having that
training.
offer thing going
We
on.
help you set more
It
appointments
came
and
up,
sell more
but we were
houses.
still.
Now here's the offer. If you don't have a real estate license yet, we offer real
it's like
estate
7-10
scholarships
plus,
so you can get one for free. Check it out at realestatescholarshipprogram.com or visit the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line at tomtoole.com.
15K.
That's tomtoole.com. Get more out of your real estate career, and remember the real estate golden rule.
Yeah.
You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
When looking for a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice service to get a great rate. Visit the Sutera
I'll go over there.
Cross-country
Just let me know.
Mortgage. We are your local
I'm like
Pennsylvania
not that
lending
far.
experts with loans that fit nearly any unique home buying situation.
That is off-putting.
including First-time buyer options, low to no down payment options,
I had
non-agency.
we're taking a new car.
Get a free pre-approval now at
You
ccm.com and search for us.
Yeah.
That's
It's like, I mean,
SUTERA. At
my
Cross-country
kids have no
Mortgage.
filter.
When it's time to move, we're right behind
Here's
you.
some of the stuff they say to me. Oh my God.
NLS 3029, NLS 1390366. Stand by. That's not working.
It's worse. All right. Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Timon. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we have got this minute and 30-second clip from Adam Carolla. If you don't know who he is, just Google him. He's got a podcast now. I remember from like the Man Show. Remember Loveline on MTV?
Mm-hmm.
He was the host with Dr. Drew. It was him and Dr. Drew. So
okay.
maybe that'll jog your memory here. I just think of something a little better. So Adam Carolla has this clip about real estate agents, and we're going to talk about what it means for real estate agents, how they need to adjust their career next. If you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And if you are looking for an agent that is the exact opposite of what he's going to talk about here in a second, her name is Sarah Timon. She's sitting right next to me. You can schedule a call with the link in the comments. So here's this clip. Let's see how this goes. I got my computer turned up. Mike's probably going to have a conniption here if this doesn't work out, but we'll see. Hopefully they can hear this.
Realtors. I am wildly disappointed in realtors. I went to a farmer's market once, and there's a couple of chicks who made their own olive oil, and they were charging like $14 for their hand-pressed olive oil. And both these two chicks did 20 minutes on this olive oil and how it was cold pressed and then infused with this, and how you don't, many other places heat their olive oil and that kills this molecular whatever. That's a $15 bottle of olive oil.
Yeah.
You go in to buy a $2.5 million house and you go, what's the square footage on this? I go, did you check the sheet? It's $2.5 million. Can you sit down with this sheet the night before and commit a couple of numbers to your head?
It's pretty important.
Square footage may come up. The year it was built may come up.
I don't think realtors the first thing people go into. I think they kind of become a model or an acting.
Fall out of something and become a realtor.
And then you're like, I need to make some money.
You're right.
And then you take like a 1-week course or something. You got to pass a test.
Yeah, they're oftentimes good-looking dingbats.
Yeah.
Men and women.
Yeah,
There's good-looking dudes. They're dudes. They look like models, and they don't know shit. And by the way, they don't care that they don't know shit. They're like, check the page.
I know this because I thought about doing it.
All right, so that's the clip. And it was all censored, so we're all good here. And I made sure that was the case, Mike, before we played this here. So what do you think about this, Sarah? Like, is it accurate? Give us your reaction here.
Well, my first reaction is on the olive oil. I bet it would be more than $15 if
Yes.
you got like a cold pressed small batch. I bet it's $35 because if you try to get even a small olive oil in the grocery store, it's like $15. So my first thought is on the olive oil. But yeah, I mean, it's a funny observation because I'm sure there are agents that just open the door and expect the client to know everything. That's not the sign of a good agent. That's certainly not every agent, but like that I'm sure has happened.
Well, I think that's what he's talking about is that, I mean, it's a coin flip, right? I mean, you look at how people meet agents. They usually just work with the first person they talk to. So you get someone, maybe they happen to be there, they're at the open house, they're trying to earn some business. And, you know, if you're doing that and you're early in your career or you're struggling to close sales, and what he said, like, just look over, like, take 5 minutes to know what you're looking at. I mean,
well, I always print off a sheet for myself that has, because I mean, would it be great if I had everything fully memorized? Sure. But on the spot, if you have multiple showings, I don't want to rely on what I think I remembered. I want it printed off. I'd rather have them see me look at a sheet and give them the right number than, oh, how impressive. You just said something without looking at anything, but it's wrong. So be prepared. Like, you know, yes, you should review everything before going, but like have those basic, how many bedrooms is it? How many bathrooms is it? How many square feet is it? What year was it built? What size is the lot? You know, have those basic things done. Read the disclosure so that you can answer basic questions. So yeah, I mean, you should be taking the time to prepare before going in. You don't want with the amount of information that is sometimes out there too, you don't want your client knowing more about the home than you do.
Yeah, and this could have been an open house. Like, we don't have the perspective here on this. I love the idea of printing things out and taking notes, right? Like, no one takes notes anymore. When I see someone like trying to listen to something, they're trying to commit it all to memory, you're going to forget. I mean, I know I will. Yeah. And when you're showing a home, I like what you talked about. You have your own sheet. I would bring an itinerary or an agenda for the buyer and have it in order, printed out. Like, hey, here's what we're going to look at today. Here's your tour guide. Here's your map. And writing things down, like circling how long it's been on the market. And when you walk in, hey, so this home's been on the market, 48 days. It was priced here. Now they're asking this.
I like to print the history off too,
yes.
to be able to say, If it has something that's been on the market and there have been price reductions, how often they happened, where are we now in that time frame? Is another one coming? Because it's better to write the lower offer before they do the price reduction in these cases. Or then you can also look and see, what did it sell for if it's not something that has sold, relatively recently, and being able to kind of break that info down.
I totally agree with you. And it just 10 minutes of prep can go such a long way. I remember one of the first clients I had, he would always ask me what they paid for the home. And that's not that relevant in some cases.
But some people want to know.
He wanted to know. So the first time I wasn't ready. So you know what happened? The next time I went back, I had it all written down, literally like right on the sheet. And it's not a test, right? If you have the stuff ready and you're showing this to people, all you're doing is just showing your knowledge. So I think he's got a good point there. What do you think about the comment, good-looking dingbats?
That's funny.
I think it is funny because there's some people that, there are some good-looking, like he said, guys and women that are in real estate, and it's like, you see them worry about like selfie angles and these lifestyle videos, and some of the best agents you never see anything from on social media and any of that stuff.
Good-looking dingbats.
So if you're one of the agents that maybe like, what advice do you have for people if that's the perception there? Because I think he very easily could have had a good experience with an agent, and I think I trust this happened. Like I don't think there's any doubt that that's how his experience went. But what could an agent have done differently when he's asking those questions to make sure Adam Carolla doesn't go on his podcast and rip our entire industry?
Yeah. So either the best scenario would be that you've looked through things and that you can answer them. If you can't, then you want to say something along the lines of, that's a really great question. I'm going to find out for you. You don't feel like you look it up.
Check the sheet.
Check the sheet. Like,
that's so funny.
I think because there will be questions that come up that you don't know the answer for, either because that's not something that was just like available to find out, or it's, kind of like you can't prepare for everything. Like there could be one-off random questions that, isn't part of your regular, I don't want to say screening process for getting ready for a home, but like part of your normal, what you do. So just take the, be like, I will find out. I will get back to you.
Well, that's a professional way, because you're not going to know all these answers, right? Like I'm just thinking of some of the homes that I've sold. You've probably had these too, where there's.
And what you don't want to do is just make something up, because that actually doesn't look better.
People do that. People do that
sometimes
stuff.
People also know the answer when they ask you. Like they've, not that they're necessarily like trying to test you, but like sometimes they are. So like if you just like say the wrong thing, they may be like, well, actually, I think I did look up and it is this. And then you look real dumb.
Well, and again, the goal here is to help somebody, not like it's not a test. You're trying to win a relationship, and there's going to be things that, I think of some of the screwy things with properties when there's like a maintenance agreement on a road. You got an easement, right? Like some of this stuff is complicated and you're not going to have all the answers. So, when you hear someone talk like this, I think that happened because that's what happened. I guarantee you, when you go to open houses, I'd say 1 out of 4 times you're going to have that kind of experience. It all depends on the agent.
I also feel like they put a little comedic twist.
Oh, of course. Yeah. He's a comedian. That's, he's got a show, but it's a wake up call for people because, we were talking about Brian earlier. Well, we sent that whole video out to our team over the weekend because it was like, hey, this is the perception out there. So prove everybody wrong. That was kind of the message behind it. And Brian goes, it's funny you said that, because we had 8 new agents on board this past week. And he said, all right, I know you guys get showings. Here's the stuff you need to know before you go to the showing.
Right.
Because most people don't know that stuff. And that's because the training in real estate sucks and no one ever tells you these things.
Right. Because it's not the real, like, on the job knowledge that you always need. Like, I remember one of the first showings that I went on, I had clients who, and this was, I'd started, COVID was like a thing.
Great timing on your
So then I was finally able to like get out and like do showings, and
then months had gone by at this point.
And I had like, we were going to look at a couple places, and I had printed off the disclosures for all of the properties. And I think I had kind of like glanced through them, but I didn't know exactly what was important. You know what I mean? So something that they were bringing up, I think, was like, is there a sump pump? And, I didn't know where on the disclosure at that time to quickly be able to like look. And it was like, I was like, all right, next time I'm going to know, like, just from the basic questions that they were asking. Like, you learn as you go through, but there's like some basic things that I always scribbled. Like, I print off my sheet, I print off the history, I don't print off the disclosure because they're like 14 pages
It's too long.
and that'd be a huge waste of paper.
Yeah.
But I go through on the back of those sheets and I write like the bullet points of the important stuff.
If anyone listening, you get any value out of the show, just do what Sarah's talking about here before you show up to a house.
Or else you look stupid.
Yeah. And when you look stupid, you're not selling the house.
Yeah.
So good stuff, Sarah. You want to follow Sarah? She's at Ty_Ty Time on Instagram. You can follow me at TomToole3RD, both on Instagram. We're streaming live every week on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. You need to talk to us. Sarah's your person. You can click on the link in the comments, and we'll be back next week on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.